What's up, everybody? Welcome to Make Things Tiny. My name is Mick. Imagine waking up first thing in the morning in your brand new tiny home, stepping out to your side deck. You can see your front porch. You've got over 100 feet in your private tiny house lot. It's lined with trees, and you're excited to start your day. Well, today is the day because we're talking to Mark and Paula. Mark and Paula are the owners of Starlight West, a brand new tiny house community outside the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We're going to hear about their inspiration for this community, and you're going to find out how you can join. If new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, and let's get into it. Let's find out about this brand new tiny house community outside Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas. All right, I am here today with Paula and Mark of Starlight West, which is a brand new tiny house community outside the Dallas-Fort Worth. Paula and Mark, thank you so much for being on the channel. I'm excited for people to learn about you, hear about everything that you're doing. If you don't mind just talking a little bit about what got you interested in tiny homes, and then we can go from there.
Hi, Mick. It's great to be talking with you today. Thanks for having us on your channel. I'm Paula Turner. Mark and I have been married 42 years, and we have two daughters that are grown and one of the cutest grandsons in the world. I personally was a stay-at-home mom until our kids got in middle school. And then I started doing residential real estate. So I've done that. This year will be 20 years.
Oh, wow.
So I have a passion for helping people find a place to live and find the right place for them.
Yeah, I guess my background is somewhat diverse. I grew up on a cattle ranch. I'm the youngest of 13 kids. Spent a decade in the oil field and then went to corporate America. And then ending my season there, that's Starlight West was begun. So, what got me interested in tiny homes was we went to the Fort Worth stock and rodeo, and they had a tiny home there. And I had a paradigm of tiny homes of being those, very narrow, short, mobile, supporting that nomad type community out there. And what I saw changed that paradigm. That we saw our first park model, which had high-end finishes, big porches on the front, potential decks on the back. It really gave me a vision for what that movement could be about relative to more maybe stationary, but living outside a lot. So that combined with affordability and seeing what you got for the money really piqued our interest in the tiny home movement.
I think that combined, you both have really great skill sets that are coming together for, what you're doing with the tiny house community, like with being in residential real estate, and then with your background as well too. Like, I think even with a corporate America background, I think there's a business side to running a tiny house community. I think not everybody thinks too much about, because I think that's another piece of it that's important too. So it sounds like you have all of the different skills that you would need to successfully run it. And for sure, park models, I think, have blown people away at tiny house festivals. I think people are really gravitating towards park models over your traditional tiny homes. So I can see where that's definitely, especially in Texas, where, everyone thinks everything's bigger in Texas. So definitely want your tiny house to be bigger in Texas as well, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So can you tell me a little bit about the community? Like, what if someone's watching right now and they're thinking, all right, I love it, park models, Texas, I want to be outside, it sounds great for me. What's the process look like for signing up to live in the community? Like, do they need to have a tiny house already? What does that look like for someone?
Okay. So first of all, you don't have to have your own tiny home. And what we do is we ask that you come out and tour our property. If that's something that fits your lifestyle in an area you'd want to be in. We then, if we want to move forward from there, we have a whole selection of floor plans. We have options ranging from 399 square feet to 1,000.
Oh, wow.
Just under 1,000. And the base price of those start at $68,000 and go up to $115,000. So you can add on, options and things like that. The next step would be designing the interior and exterior of the home and any upgrades or things you might want to tweak or add for your personal lifestyle. Then you pick out one of the 12 lots that we have available. And get that secured. And then the order is submitted to the manufacturer. It's about 8 to 10 weeks turnaround, give or take. Then once it's ready, we help assist in coordinating the delivery setup, the utility connections, getting the skirting to make it all finished out. And then probably within 2 months, 2.5, you'll be living life at Starlight West.
That's awesome. That's not too bad of a time frame either. 8 to 12 weeks is pretty standard, so that's good. If someone has a tiny house, can they live at Starlight West, or is it only people who don't have tiny homes and are going to go through the different manufacturers you have to offer?
Yeah, that would be the case. That we're going to be the sole source for the housing for you, and so you'll purchase a home through us and then lease the lot here at Starlight. We have a rather large selection of plans available for you, and then customization.
Okay,
so
that's helpful for people to know.
Continuity,
Yeah.
That makes sense. And also, what a lot of people don't realize is that most people that are interested in tiny homes right now don't have a tiny home. So like when the movement started, it was a lot of people who were DIYing their, 200 square foot tiny house on wheels and, that sort of thing. And now there's a lot more people that are looking at bigger tiny homes and they actually don't have one. So it can be really helpful for people that are, watching or people that reach out to know that you're kind of a one-stop shop. They can just go to you, tour, pick a tiny house from the catalog, have everything set up. So that actually does a lot of the work for people. So that can be a huge advantage for people.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and with Paula's background, it also gives them a very easy on-ramp to that acquisition. We have financing for homes. Just the entire process, you're guided through that. So, yeah.
Okay. That's perfect. Financing is probably one of the biggest things that sort of like make people hesitant because not everyone has $100,000 laying around to pay for a tiny house in cash. Some people do, but a lot of people don't. So the financing piece is huge because that's a big one. A lot of people reach out and they're like, how do I even pay for it? What does that look like? So that's good that you have financing available for people.
Yes.
Okay. So what sorts of amenities are there in the park currently, or will there be in the community over time? And what's the cost to rent the land?
We were trying to be very thoughtful about what would be beneficial to the people of the community and things to bring everybody together. So, we have a dog park. We're putting in a raised bed garden area. We have wooden tree swings throughout the property. Our trees are just so fantastic. And we have a gathering area. Each section will have a gathering area with tables, chairs, cafe lights, fire pit, things like that. And then Mark will tell you about his favorite part.
Yeah, Meg, my favorite part is our walking path. Our property is just a little over 25 acres. And as Paula mentioned, it includes a lot of very large live oak trees. But also it includes a stream that borders our entire property in the back. And in that creek area, there are fossils, big boulders, crystal clear water. It's just a very attractive area. So we leverage that by putting a walking path along that creek. So you can walk the entire length of the creek of the property. And you'll have places like Paula mentioned, our tree swings, but we're also having benches along the creek, things like that, where you can stop and reflect. Because we're really building in something that we think people desire, especially people like us that come from the Metroplex, where it's big city, lots of going on, but you can find peace and tranquility there. I walk it in the morning and walk it in the evening, and it just changes your perspective. So that's my favorite amenity about what we offer is that walking path.
Okay. That's huge because I feel like a lot of people are looking to downsize. Maybe they're selling their family home and they want to move into a park model tiny home, but they don't want to feel like they're completely alone. They want to still feel like they have that community feel, even aspects of suburbia that you enjoy, which is sort of like being able to go for a walk and talk to your neighbors. And I think the dog park is a big one too. A lot of people are trying to get out of apartments where you have to sort of like go for down 3 flights of stairs and then take your dog out like 3 or 4 times a day. So you're definitely really thinking about all of those things that are going to make people feel like they're part of a community.
Mhm.
And one thing I've just thought of on the path, right now we have an eagle's nest. So in, different seasons, you'll be able to see an eagle touring the property.
That's really cool. I don't know if I've ever seen an eagle's nest. I've seen an eagle, but not the nest. So
Yeah.
It's pretty big.
that's cool. Well, what does it cost so they buy the house? What does it cost for them to rent the spot where they put their tiny home? And what do those lots look like? Do you know the dimensions for them?
Yeah, they're basically 30 by 100 feet.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so we made sure we had plenty of room for that outdoor living. So you've got areas for a front porch, and then also a back deck and potentially a side deck.
Okay.
Because we truly want you to be able to take advantage of the area that surrounds us, which is surrounded by hills. We have a state park within 4 minutes of us that's just being built. So all of those things we wanted to design that you could take full leverage of from that lot. The lot is going to be $685 a month, and that's going to include your sewer, your septic, your water, that's city water. So it's gone through the treatment process. Landscaping, because again, we wanted to design a community that if you did want to travel, that you turn the lock on the deadbolt and you leave, and everything is taken care of. But so that's everything that we have included in that lot rent that I know. Anything else?
Each space will have two cars to park.
Okay.
Yeah, dedicated to that spot.
And some guest parking will be sprinkled around.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So definitely enough space for people to, if they wanted to put like a community garden, like a little, not community garden, like a little raised bed garden on the side of their tiny home, they could do that.
Well, what we would do, we have a dedicated area for community garden and raised bed. So it'll include the facility to keep your utensils and things like that, and then of course the water and irrigation and everything.
Okay, cool. Now those are huge lots. Those are some of the largest lot sizes I've seen so far, and I think your lot rents really is reasonable too for what people are getting, especially with the 2 parking spaces and for how big the lot is. So that's plenty of room for them to, be able to park and, have all the different decks and really be able to relax and enjoy their stay, enjoy their lives. They're probably not going to want to leave though. So you're probably going to have a wait list eventually, and people are going to be like, man, I saw you want to make things tiny and now I have to wait a year. So that's not a bad problem to have. So hopefully I'm manifesting that for you all.
Yeah. Well, and that's really what facilitated a lot of this design on the community was our home in the DFW area. We have a home there, and we have a very large patio, and we put it out front. And so we're a gathering area for our neighbors and our community. And that's what we desire here. People to get to know each other, enjoy their community, and have that sense of unity. So
we want to host events, dinners. We love live music, have artists out here. So things like that to keep people involved.
Of course. Yeah, that makes sense. And you said right now you have 12 spots. How many do you plan to have more over time? And what is the time look if someone wants to move in, can they move in the next few months, or is there a wait in terms of moving in?
Yeah, the 12 spots are developed and ready to go. So as soon as the home arrives, it can be parked and connected, and we'll help you through all that process. We'll basically project manage that for you. That's phase 1A. Phase 1B is directly connected to that. That's another 18 spots that will be available as soon as concentrations of phase 1A are completed. And then there'll be 2 additional phases, phase 2 and phase 3.
Okay, perfect. I mean, you all have spent so much time sort of building this out and being very thoughtful in everything that you've designed so far. What has been the biggest challenge that you feel like you've faced in creating a community, of this size?
I think I'm going to say this, and it's probably it's not a traditional challenge, but as we bought the land and as we explored the land and we discovered its beauty and its surroundings, it's surrounded by legacy ranches, very large cattle ranches, and then of course the state park, and just the nature that's here. The challenge for us was as we went through those development decision processes that we respected what was around us and what we had. So, we made early on commitments for large oak trees, live oak trees, post oaks, that they were not going to be moved. They were not going to be disturbed. So we designed a community around the nature versus destroying the nature to get the community. So, and that's part of the reason those lots are so big. And some of them are even larger than that because we're going around trees. We're backing up to trees. Most of the homes, all of the homes in this first phase 1A has a grove of trees behind it. And so the challenges were balancing all the infrastructure that we were committed to have as top tier infrastructure and the nature that surrounds it. So those were our challenges.
Okay. That makes sense. I love that though. I love that you thought about making sure that you were really intentional about building it around the nature that already exists, because that is what's going to draw people in and make them want to stay. People are a lot more conscious of their sort of like impact on the environment. And it's in line with the tiny house movement in general and where it originally started, which was more like downsizing, sustainability sort of thing. So I think that bringing it back full circle, what you're doing I think that's great. And I don't know anyone that's going to be upset about having a tree in their backyard for their tiny house lot. So, I mean, that's a huge selling point in my mind. But I love trees, so I don't know.
Yeah, you mentioned a great word, the intentionality of this. It's represented from the entryway, which is pretty dramatic, all the way to the last step you take on the walking path. It was all master planned, and well thought, at least by our standards. So as people come and look at it, they can determine if we pass the test or not. So
yeah, I'm sure. From what I've seen on the website, I think that does sort of like speak a lot of truth to what you're saying, because it does look like a really beautiful community, and like you're saying, that's what existed on the land like when you got there. So you're just sort of like enhancing what was already there and not taking away from it, which I think is huge. And again, I think a lot of people are going to really love that, because that is what people seem to be looking for nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. We saw ourselves as stewards of that land, not just owners, but stewards of it. So.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So, okay. So for someone who's watching right now, they're thinking, I love this. They've listened to everything that you're saying, but they have no idea where to start. They don't have a tiny house. They don't know what sorts of questions to ask. What's like a bit of advice you would give to someone who's thinking like, okay, I want to join a tiny house community and get a tiny home, but I really don't know what I'm supposed to be paying attention to? What would you say they need to sort of keep in their mind as they start this process?
Well, I think it's always, in everything you do, is to educate yourself, right? But to really understand the community that you're going to move into. The house is one thing. That's something that the design and the layout and all of that can be changed. It can be modified. But the community that you're moving into, and what its principles are, and how it's been designed, how it's developed, how the infrastructure is built into it, is key. So I think you should spend a little bit of time just doing a little bit of investigation. Look at a couple of other parks. We'd love for you to come see Starlight West, see what we're about. But just to educate yourself in that sense, that's probably the more complex part of the formula, is the development. The homes, there are a lot of quality homes out there now and being built. And we can show you what we offer and what that looks like and why we think that's the best. But I think our best potential clients and educated clients. So I just encourage you to spend a little bit of time, and you may feel it being daunting, but we'll be glad to help you in any part of that process and answer any questions you have. And we have a limited knowledge, but it's available to you.
No, it makes sense. That's huge. It's basically what I say in every single video over and over and over again. But it really is important because there is so much information out there, and yet there's just no way to really like kind of bring it all together. So it's important to be able to reach out and ask questions, but do a little bit of research on your own beforehand. So I think that's great advice, Mark. Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for being on the channel. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, talk to everyone, walk everybody through just sort of like your passion and your heart for the community. It really shows. And I'm honestly just excited for people to reach out and go check it out and tour it, because it sounds like a really lovely facility. So links to everything that you're doing will be in the video description. They can reach out, they can ask questions, hopefully find their new home, and they'll be able to get sneak peek of one of the homes in the tour and another video as well too. So lots for people to see and get excited about. So thank you guys.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. All right, that was my conversation with Paula and Mark. I appreciate Paula and Mark taking the time to just talk to us about why they fell in love with tiny homes, what makes Starlight West so special, and how you can join and all the different amenities and features that they have to offer too. So make sure you reach out, links to everything that they're doing, their social media, their website. Make sure you reach out, ask questions. Go check out the community. I can't stress that enough. You've got to see it. You've got to tour it. And hopefully you fall in love with it and it becomes your new home. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. And thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to think tiny. And I'll see you guys in the next one.